Humanity has built an invisible prison and called it society. Entire generations have been conditioned to believe that being alone means failing, that solitude means something went wrong. But Schopenhauer, one of the greatest thinkers who ever lived, saw through this collective lie. He realized that embracing solitude isn't giving up on life. It's the smartest decision anyone can make. What you're about to discover goes against everything you've been taught, but it might be exactly what you needed to break free. The first crucial distinction is between solitude and abandonment. Chosen solitude is power. Forced solitude is pain. When you decide to spend time with yourself because you recognize its value, you're exercising sovereignty over your own existence. Schopenhauer saw voluntary solitude as an act of self-determination, not surrender. Think about how many times you've accepted invitations you didn't want just to avoid seeming antisocial. How many parties you've attended and returned from feeling even emptier than before. The difference lies in choice. Being left behind hurts because it wasn't your decision. But choosing to be alone, creating that space intentionally, is taking control of your time and energy. It's saying that your inner peace is worth more than external approval. It's recognizing that not every company deserves access to you. This brings us to a truth that sounds harsh, but needs to be said. Human interaction almost always generates suffering. Schopenhauer wasn't being cruel, he was being brutally honest. Think about how many headaches come directly from other people. Silly arguments, misunderstandings, unmet expectations, people who drain your energy without giving anything back. He used a perfect metaphor: porcupines on a cold day trying to warm up. They move closer, seeking warmth, but when they get too close, their quills hurt each other, so they move apart and feel cold again. This is the eternal human dilemma. We want connection, but every connection brings friction, and the closer we are to someone, the greater the potential for hurt. How many friendships have turned into enmities? How many romantic relationships have ended in war? Solitude eliminates this risk completely. No one can disappoint you when you're alone. Now observe something fascinating about humanity's greatest achievements. Where were they born? In solitude. Einstein developed the theory of relativity during long solitary walks, lost in deep thought. Newton made his most important discoveries when he isolated himself during the bubonic plague. Beethoven composed his most complex symphonies in complete isolation, deaf to the outside world. Michelangelo painted the Sistine Chapel alone, lying on his back for years. It's no coincidence. Genius needs silence to flourish. When you're constantly surrounded by people, your mind operates in superficial mode. You process conversations, read facial expressions, answer questions, worry about what others are thinking of you. There's no mental space left to dive deep into anything. But when you're truly alone, your mind can finally expand without limits. You can follow a thought wherever it wants to go, without interruptions. You can explore ideas that might seem strange if spoken out loud. Solitude doesn't block creativity. It frees it from the chains of social judgment. And the reason for this is simple. Only in solitude do you experience true freedom. When there are other people around, you're always playing some social role. With your parents, you're the obedient or rebellious child. With friends, you adjust your behavior to what the group expects. At work, you wear a professional mask. Even with romantic partners, there's an edited version of yourself that you present in the first few months. None of these versions are completely false, but none are totally real either. They're necessary performances for social navigation. But when you're alone, when you're truly alone, you don't need to prove anything to anyone. You can think whatever you want without internal censorship. You can feel whatever you want without shame. You can be who you really are, with all the contradictions and weirdness that includes. This total freedom only exists in solitude. It's the only moment when you can take off all the masks and simply exist without judgment. Schopenhauer took this idea even further with a provocative observation. He believed that the constant need for company revealed deep inner weakness. Observe people who can't stay even 5 minutes alone without grabbing their phone. Who fill every free second with noise, people, distractions of any kind. What are they running from? They're running from themselves. When you can't stand your own company, you're admitting that your inner world is empty and boring. It's like living in a house you hate. Of course you'll want to spend all your time outside, On the other hand, people who've cultivated inner richness don't fear solitude. They have interesting thoughts to explore, fertile imagination, active intellectual curiosity. They can spend hours lost in reflection and come out energized, not exhausted. The desperate need to always be accompanied isn't a sign of healthy sociability. It's a sign of emotional dependence and mental poverty. Strong people are self-sufficient. Weak people need a constant audience to feel real. Here's another truth that bothers a lot of people. There's a direct relationship between mental quality and preference for solitude. The more intelligent and deep a person is, the less they need constant social validation. It's not arrogance, it's simple logic. If you have a rich universe inside your head, full of ideas to explore, books to reflect on, projects to develop, why waste your precious time on empty conversations about the weather or about who's dating whom? Schopenhauer observed that ordinary people fear solitude because when they're alone, they have nothing in there. It's like opening an empty refrigerator. Of course they'll want to run out in search of external entertainment. But superior minds experience the opposite. For them, being alone is luxury, not punishment. It's the chance to finally access all that inner richness without interruption. It's being able to dive into the depths of thought without someone pulling you back to the surface. The problem is that society functions as a relentless leveling force. When you spend a lot of time with other people, especially in groups, there's an invisible but powerful pressure to conform, to think like everyone thinks, to like what everyone likes, to act like everyone acts. Original ideas are viewed with suspicion. Different behaviors are punished with strange looks or social exclusion. Society wants you to be average because average people are predictable and controllable. They don't cause problems. They don't question the system. They just go with the flow. Schopenhauer warned that if you really want to elevate yourself intellectually, you need to distance yourself from the masses. You can't be extraordinary while swimming in mediocrity. Every hour you spend in environments that celebrate the common is an hour you lose from developing the exceptional within you. Solitude doesn't just allow your originality. It protects it from the erosion caused by social conformity. Beyond that, there's something even deeper at play. You only truly know yourself in solitude. Think about how you discover your true values, fears, desires, and talents. It's not on social media where you show edited versions of your life. It's not at parties where you're busy being nice. It's not listening to other people's opinions about who you should be. It's in quiet moments with yourself. When you're constantly surrounded by people, you're constantly reacting. Reacting to what this person said, to what that person did, to what they expect from you. You become a ping-pong ball being batted from side to side, never stopping to process who you really are underneath all these reactions. But when you stop, when you create empty space around you, you can finally look inward without distortions. You can ask the difficult questions that no one else will ask for you. Who am I when no one is watching? What do I really want from life? Not what I've been told I should want. What are my principles when I don't need to defend them to anyone? These answers never come from outside. They only emerge in self-imposed silence. And speaking of answers from outside, let's destroy a very dangerous myth. The idea that happiness comes from abundant social connections. Modern society sells this lie non-stop. The more friends, the better. The more social events, the more successful you are. The more likes, the more validated you are. But how many times have you returned from a party or gathering feeling emptier than before? How many superficial conversations about nothing have you had to endure while thinking about being anywhere else? Schopenhauer argued that true peace comes from within, not from external approval or popularity. Social events frequently leave us drained because they're theaters where everyone is playing made-up versions of themselves. No one is genuine because being genuine in public is too risky. So you spend precious energy maintaining this performance, and when you get home, you're exhausted. Not because you had so much fun, because you worked so hard pretending to have fun. This brings us to a crucial point about energy. Each social interaction drains precious mental and emotional energy. Each superficial conversation, each other person's drama you have to listen to, each person who dumps their problems on you without reciprocity, all of this steals your vital force. Schopenhauer understood that our energy isn't infinite. We have a limited tank, and we need to choose carefully how we spend it. When you allow just anyone to have access to you, when you say yes to every invitation, when you're always available, you're pouring your energy everywhere except where it matters. Solitude functions as a protective shield that preserves your energy for what really matters. For your projects, your goals, your personal development. People who protect their time alone aren't selfish, they're strategic. They understand they can't give others what they don't have for themselves. There's something else few people realize. Inner dialogue is superior to most external conversations. When you develop the capacity to have deep conversations with yourself, you notice how shallow most social interactions are. Solitary thinking allows levels of reflection impossible in normal conversations, because in conversations you need to be polite, consider others' feelings, you can't follow thoughts to uncomfortable conclusions. But alone, you can be brutally honest. You can question everything without offending anyone. You can change your mind 10 times in 5 minutes without seeming indecisive. Schopenhauer believed that great insights only emerge in contemplative silence, because that's where the mind can operate at its natural speed, without social breaks. When you learn to appreciate the quality of inner dialogue, external conversations start to seem like noise. Not because people are bad, but because you discovered something better. Schopenhauer also had a realistic view about friendships. He said that true friendships are extremely rare exceptions, not the rule. Most connections we call friendship are actually mutual convenience. You offer something, they offer something, and as long as the exchange is balanced, the friendship continues. But when one party stops offering, or when conflicting interests arise, these friendships evaporate. True friendship, where two people genuinely care about each other without hidden agendas, is incredibly rare. Schopenhauer wasn't being cynical. He was telling you to raise your standards. It's better to have quality solitude than fake friendships that drain without nourishing. It's better to be alone than in bad company. This isn't cheap self-help talk. It's practical wisdom. How many times have you maintained toxic relationships just to avoid being alone? How many times have you accepted crumbs of affection because you were afraid of emptiness? Conscious solitude eliminates this desperate need. You stop accepting just anything and start demanding the extraordinary, or you'd rather be alone. Here's something Schopenhauer observed about different people. Society punishes those who think outside the box. It always has and always will. From school, where different children suffer bullying, to the workplace, where bold ideas are met with resistance. The group wants uniformity because difference threatens the established structure. If you think differently, act differently, value different things, you'll be marginalized. Not always in obvious ways. Sometimes it's subtle. They don't invite you to events anymore. They stop responding to your messages as quickly. You feel like you're on the periphery of the social group. And you know what? Schopenhauer would say that's not defeat. It's the natural consequence of intellectual superiority. When you rise above average, when you develop original thinking, you automatically distance yourself from the masses. Solitude isn't punishment. It's a sign that you've evolved beyond the herd. It's the price of authenticity, and it's a price worth paying. Solitude also functions as mental training. The more time you can spend productively alone, the stronger your mind becomes. It's like a gym for the brain. At first, being alone is uncomfortable. You don't know what to do with yourself. You get restless. You grab your phone 1,000 times. But if you persist, if you train your capacity to be alone, something incredible happens. You start discovering internal resources you didn't even know you had. You start having interesting ideas. You start solving problems that have been stuck for months. Your creativity takes off because it finally has room to breathe. Schopenhauer saw the inability to be alone as a pathological dependence on external stimuli. It's like being addicted to drugs, but the drug is attention and validation from other people. And like any addiction, you need increasingly larger doses to feel good. But when you strengthen your capacity for solitude, you free yourself from this addiction. You become emotionally self-sufficient. There's something else that needs to be said about boredom. Many people avoid solitude because they think they'll be bored. But Schopenhauer made an important distinction. Social boredom is worse than solitude. You know that feeling of being at a party where you don't connect with anyone? Where you're physically present but mentally absent? Where you keep looking at the clock waiting for enough time to pass so you can leave without seeming rude? That kind of boredom is torture. It's worse than being alone because besides being bored, you're trapped. You can't leave without causing an awkward situation. You have to keep pretending interest in conversations that add nothing to you. Schopenhauer considered mandatory social events a form of refined torture. On the other hand, when you're alone and feel bored, at least you have total freedom to change what you're doing. You can read a book, watch something, work on a project, take a walk. Solitary boredom has an exit. Social boredom doesn't. It's preferable to be alone with good thoughts than accompanied by shallow minds that don't stimulate you. This brings us to building an inner refuge. Solitude only becomes pleasurable when you have a rich mental world. If your head is empty, solitude will be suffering indeed. That's why Schopenhauer emphasized intellectual cultivation so much. Through voracious reading, you fill your mind with the best ideas humanity has ever produced. Through constant reflection, you process these ideas and create your own. Through creativity, whether writing, painting, composing, or building, you become a generator, not just a consumer. When you do this internal work, when you really build a mental sanctuary, something magical happens. You're never truly alone. You have the best minds in history as company. You can talk with Plato about justice. You can debate with Nietzsche about morality. You can explore the universe with Carl Sagan. All these giants are available through the books they left behind. Physical solitude becomes a portal to infinite intellectual companionship. And today, in the hyper-connected world we live in, embracing solitude has become a revolutionary act. Everyone is glued to their phone. Everyone is available 24 hours a day. Everyone is constantly consuming and producing content. The pressure to always be connected is absurd. You take your phone out of your pocket and have 50 notifications waiting. Someone commented on your photo. Someone tagged you in something. Someone sent you a message. You need to respond quickly, or they'll think you're being rude. It's constant bombardment of information, demands, and distraction. In this context, choosing to disconnect, choosing to create spaces of total silence, choosing to embrace solitude, is a form of resistance. It's saying no to digital chaos. It's reclaiming sovereignty over your own attention. Schopenhauer, if he were alive today, would be even more convinced that solitude is a necessary refuge to preserve sanity. He would probably say that people who can disconnect and be alone are the only ones who still have a chance to develop deep thinking in a world that wants your attention fragmented into 1,000 pieces. Schopenhauer left us a valuable gift by defending solitude so vehemently. He wasn't preaching total and permanent isolation. He was saying you need to be capable of being alone. You need to cultivate your inner world. You need to protect your energy. When you do this, you free yourself from the desperate need for external approval. You stop living to impress others. You start living according to your own values and desires. And curiously, when you stop needing people, they start respecting you more. When you have the strength to say no, to refuse invitations, to choose solitude, you become more interesting. Because you make it clear that your time has value, that you're not available to just anyone, that you have standards. Well-lived solitude doesn't isolate you from the world. It prepares you to interact with the world from a position of strength, not neediness. Embracing solitude isn't turning your back on humanity, it's turning your back on mediocrity. It's choosing quality over quantity. It's preferring one deep conversation per year over 1,000 shallow conversations per week. It's investing in yourself when everyone else is investing in appearances. It's building an inner fortress in a world that only values external masks. If this video made you think differently about being alone, if you realize that maybe solitude isn't an enemy but an ally, hit that like button so more people can discover this idea. And subscribe to the channel because we're going to keep exploring philosophy that actually changes lives, not those empty cliches that everyone repeats. Until the next video.